I was recovering from malaria from that challenge. And so I was just a few weeks out of the hospital, and so I was coming into this out of shape, exhausted, beat down.
Like there's no question. Like,
That's
I
very
think
fair.
you actually do well on
100%.
Survivor. I don't think you do very well on Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, this show, amazing. I have to ask you, I was looking at it and I was thinking of this video game my kids play called Among Us, which reminds me so much of, he's laughing. Okay,
Mafia.
Have you guys played it?
I played like Mafia, which is like, there are different versions of that, including that. But it's always something that I've been really intrigued by, right? Because you're basically trying to like lie to people, but get them to believe you. So I was really excited when I mean, they didn't really tell us exactly what the show was about, but I kind of figured it was probably like a combination of Mafia and Survivor. And so as soon as I heard that concept, I was all in.
Yeah, Malcolm, you seem like you've played it.
I never got it right, so I quit pretty quick because I'm a petty child. But yes, I'm aware of, and it's a good parallel. Like that's just the Steam version of what we did in Costa Rica for a couple nights.
Oh, yeah, that is crazy. So the two of you guys were on Survivor. I know, Jeff, you were on Naked and Afraid. How was this experience? Somewhat similar to what you guys went through, but then it was very different at the same time.
Well, for me, as the outlier, this wasn't anything like anything I've done before. I suck at games. I don't like games. Naked and Afraid is very difficult, but it's very simple. You just have to stay alive. That's the only rule. There's no gameplay. There's not like, if you don't like your partner, you can leave them and walk off into the jungle and start your own life. And so this was very, very different. It was a social game, a social experiment, if you will. And that's probably one thing I've struggled with most throughout my life. I'm much better on my own in the wilderness, with nobody else around. So for me, this was something totally different.
I know, Jeff, I thought you had an advantage because like, I was not comfortable. It was even though the environment was not as hard as anything you've gone through Naked and Afraid, like it was hard for me, but you were loving it. It was like you were on a vacation and you're just like, oh, this is great. I get to wear clothes, I get to sleep, I have water and all that kind of stuff. So I get your point, but I do think in some ways like that your experience gave you a leg up because you were like in your environment. This was great for you. For me, certainly, I was like suffering.
Yeah, how is it? Because there were some Survivor parallels, like with the challenges and stuff like that. Is that what you guys, Malcolm and Yul, you guys went in with, sort of?
It was interesting because there's a lot of parallels, and yet there's just the whole dynamic of there being a snake amongst you changes everything, like in a very like core grounded way. Like everything became different. So instead of just trying to, you're just trying to win a challenge on Survivor. Now you're side-eyeing, like trying to watch who's giving their all, who's struggling, or who's acting like they're struggling. You're trying to weigh a whole new element. So there's a lot of parallels, but it was definitely like a monkey wrench got thrown in.
Yeah, I thought, so the challenges were similar, so I thought that was helpful. And because there's a big social element to it, I think having the Survivor experience was useful. The thing that kind of tripped me up though was, on Survivor, you're just trying to build the strongest alliance, the strongest coalition, right? You're just trying to get as many people to be on your side. And I felt like kind of doing that naturally in this game, but they kept saying like, no, it doesn't matter if someone likes me or not. Like, it doesn't matter because unless you actually figure out who the real snake is, the whole thing kind of doesn't really matter. So it's a different dynamic because it's not just about trying to get people to like click with you and want to like vote with you. It's actually about like trying to figure out the truth.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely. Yeah, I kept slipping into Survivor mindset. Just like, okay, I just need to survive the next vote. Well, no, there's like one answer to a specific problem that we're trying to solve right now. And so that was a hard readjustment, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel like also you guys all kind of knew something about each other. And that kind of came into play too, because you had some background information. You sort of knew how each other played to some extent, even, you, Jeff. How did that come in? Like, did you like worry like, oh, he's a snake. Oh, I don't want to feel that way about him. There was that type of thing.
I knew what Jeff looked like when he was naked.
Oh my God.
Well, the clothes kind of threw me off. I'm like, wait a sec, who is this guy?
Well, for me, I didn't know any of these guys. So, some people may look at that as a disadvantage, but for me, I thought that was an advantage. I had a clear slate.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about anyone. So for me, it was just find the liar, find out who you think is lying to your face. And so for me, I felt like if I can just find out, if I can be a good judge of character and find out who's lying to my face, then I've got this, Yeah. But otherwise, what if I was the snake, right? Then I'm going to have to fool 3 people that all know each other, that have experience playing a survival game. Mm-hmm. So, I'm thinking, well, if I'm the snake here, then I'm going to have to pull out all the stops to fool the best of the best.
Yeah.
I would add to that the clues, when you see them, are riddles. Like, it's not straightforward. It's not just you get a factoid that's very direct. So the fact that Yul, Earl, and I at least had some knowledge of one another before going into it made for us piecing apart like life histories based on what we remember from things that we'd done years and years and years ago. So it actually, at some points, like, oh, I know that about you, I know that, but wait, did he maybe say this one time? Like, so it was very, the waters were even muddier for us in some instances.
Yeah, I felt like just the fact that I knew Earl and had known about Malcolm, it helped in some cases, but it also made it harder. Just because one, if there's a sense of familiarity, they're more likely to just kind of trust them versus someone that you don't know, like Jeff, for example. But then in other cases, because you know something about someone, you tend to you can overly weight that particular bit of information. So if a clue is framed in such a way that it kind of points at somebody and you know something about that person, you're like, oh, well, I don't know anything else about that person, but I do know that. So it kind of leads you to put more credibility to that one piece. And in that way, it could actually take you down the wrong path. So I thought it was a mixed blessing.
Yeah. I feel like the people at home are definitely going to feel that too and be led down a million paths. I also want to ask, how did you prepare for this? Because it's not as physical as Survivor, but it's pretty physical. I mean, you're jumping out of a helicopter, you're doing some crazy challenges, plus the mind aspect. Is there anything you did to get ready in particular? I'll start with you, Yul, anybody.
Yeah, I did a few things. I didn't tell us exactly what the show was about, but I thought it would be kind of like maybe The Mole. So I watched the couple of seasons of The Mole. I half expected Anderson Cooper to be jumping out and being the host. And then, we didn't have a lot of time. So I basically did my best to get myself in shape so that I wouldn't throw up the first thing happen, as soon as I got onto the beach. But that was basically about it.
Wow. Okay, Jeff, what about you? I know one thing you did, you stripped.
Yeah, well, for me, I was just coming off of my 6th Naked and Afraid challenge in the Amazon, and so I was recovering from malaria from that challenge, and so I was just a few weeks out of the hospital, and so I was coming into this out of shape, exhausted, beat down, like I was just. My mind was just trying to focus and be like, all right, just 36 hours, that's a piece of cake. I mean, I can do that with my eyes closed in survival. So I knew I had that part down. So for me, if I could just get through the whole social experiment and survive that part of it. But
wow. Okay, wait, before I get to Malcolm, why did you say yes to this after you
No, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of shows and different challenges I have said no to, but I said yes to this because it was so different from Naked and Afraid. This was a true social challenge, and for everyone that knows me from Naked and Afraid, the social part has been my most difficult aspect. The survival part, I kick ass.
No, I'm not going to give him any food. It's all right.
I win every challenge I do. But I make enemies along the way. I hurt feelings. I'm abrasive. And so I viewed this as a personal opportunity for me to maybe learn some things and overcome some of those social struggles. And so, I mean, we'll have to see how it turns out. But
yeah,
Jeff, I'm pretty sure you would do better on Survivor than either Malcolm, Earl, or I would do on Naked and Afraid. There's no question.
That's very fair.
I think you'd actually do well on Survivor. I don't think we do very well on Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have
Definitely.
to take on that one next, but yeah.
Well, and Malcolm, you're like in really good shape. Did you work out extra before, or did you do anything physically or mentally to prepare for this? Or
That's the nicest thing anybody has said to me. I was in the worst shape of my life. We had very little lead time, as Yul alluded to, and I was the quarantine 15 was a very real thing in my house. But also like Yul said, we did get a sense that there was going to be an aspect of the mole to this. So I decided that on relatively short notice compared to Survivor, just get the mental in line. So watched a lot of that and just tried to do some of the same just the same readings. Like I read Machiavelli before I was on Survivor the first time. I went back to that. I did all of my readings again before going out, and I guess you'll have to tune in to see how it worked out.
I think so. And before I let you guys go, without obviously revealing who is the snake, how soon did you get your roles and find out what part you were going to play? Was it literally when you hit the beach, or was it before you got out of the helicopter?
It was before. So basically before we started filming.
Okay.
So essentially, kind of the night before.
Wow.
Was when I understand that the snake was told.
Somebody was told beforehand, essentially, and nobody else was told until Bobby met us on the beach.
Yeah, so the 3 people that were not the snake, they showed up day 1 still not knowing, right? And so from the moment the challenge started, the snake knew. So the game started the moment that we jumped out of the helicopter. Like whether we realized it or not, the game was on.
Wow. That's and before I wrap up, do you know, are they going to do like an all-stars or anything at the end where all the winners will sort of face off on a challenge, or is that to be determined?
Sadly, no.
If they're doing it, they haven't told me.
Okay. Well, it sounds like that may be the way it goes too. It sounds like at the last minute, but that's part of the fun. Would you have rather had more time to plan, or was it better just having last minute, like I'll just do this?
I think it was better last minute. I do, because I mean, if you give the snake too much time to prepare, then he already has an advantage going in. So I think it's right to make it equal, where everyone finds out last second, and then it's just a 36-hour race to find that liar.
All right. Well, very, very cool. All right. Well, the show is so fun. Everyone can play at home. I think families, wine night with the girls, beer with the guys. I mean, this is for everybody. So a lot of fun. And I really appreciate you guys chatting with me today. And I guess we'll find out who the snake is when the show airs.